Hi and Assalamualaikum. My name is Aina Hanisah binti Muhammad HAZAR, and now I will be presenting about the introduction of Petronas. Petronas is engaged in a wide spectrum of petroleum activities, including upstream exploration and production of oil and gas, to downstream of oil refining, marketing and distribution of petroleum products trading, gas processing and also liquefaction, gas transmission, pipeline network operation, marketing of liquefied natural gas, petrochemical manufacturing and marketing, shipping, automotive engineering and property investment.
So next, the goals and objective of Petronas. The vision of Petronas is leading gas infrastructure and utilities company. And for the mission of Petronas are, we are a business entity, gas infrastructure and utilities is our core business, we operate safely, reliably and competitively, and also we optimize the gas value chain to maximize returns for our stakeholders.
Dear children, remember how we spoke of lush, wide green fields, the vast blue oceans, and the clear, crisp air? We promise you, we are doing something to save them, to have that clean, green world for you as we welcome the dawn of a new era. Remember when we promised sustainable energy? One that combines gas and steam turbines for high efficiency and low fuel consumption. One that attracts new upstream and downstream investments. That lights up your home without darkening your future.
I strongly believe in cogeneration. There is so much potential in cogeneration for a simple reason that we have a lot of industries that is so ready to produce more electricity through cogeneration. A future where Malaysia can have energy, can have electricity that is affordable, that is reliable, that is sustainable. We have got to leverage on our oil and gas industries, technologies that we have, the talents we have, the processes that is in place to help us to the green future. The goal is a greener future and more affordable energy for everyone.
Now, there is a way to find that balance.
First time in the history of Malaysia, climate change appears in the name of a ministry. That shows the commitment of the government to it. How do we actually face climate change in the future as a nation?
Dear children, remember to hold us by these pledges, because it is your right and our responsibility.
What future should we shape for the next generation? For our children to live in? Asia, the largest continent in the world, with almost 2/3 of the world's population, and contributing to 60% of global economic growth, means it has the highest energy consumption and accounts for half of the world's greenhouse gas emissions. The need for decarbonization requires us to strike the right balance between energy security, affordability, and sustainability. If we do nothing, we risk creating a future that is unbearable for our children. The future of our planet and generations to come depends on the choices we make today. At Energy Asia, solutions for a just and responsible energy transition to build a sustainable world will be shared. Join us as we transition to turn pledges into measurable targets, turning challenges into business opportunities, and develop ecosystems for Asia's net zero future. Let us work together and chart the pathway for our next generation.
Malaysian state-owned oil and gas company Petronas has defended its right to carry out exploration activities in the disputed South China Sea. Now, Group CEO Muhammad Taufik spoke exclusively to CNA.
Petronas conducts activities always within sovereign waters. We have protected our people and our assets and our conduct of business. There have been no increases in the incidences of incursions. We have worked with our National Security Council. There have been nothing untoward that has occurred. We believe we're acting well within our rights, and we hope everybody respects it because it's Malaysia's right to develop its resources.
Petronas operates oil and gas fields within Malaysia's exclusive economic zone. In recent years, the firm has had several encounters with Chinese vessels. Last week, Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim told Parliament that Malaysia was firmly committed to protecting the country's sovereign rights and interests in the disputed waters. He said Petronas would continue its activities and that he was open to negotiations with Beijing. Malaysian state-owned oil and gas company Petronas has defended its right to carry out exploration activities in the disputed South China Sea. Now, Group CEO Muhammad Taufik spoke exclusively to CNA.
Petronas conducts activities always within sovereign waters. We have protected our people and our assets and our conduct of business. There have been no increases in the incidences of incursions. We have worked with our National Security Council. There have been nothing untoward that has occurred. We believe we're acting well within our rights, and we hope everybody respects it because it's Malaysia's right to develop its resources.
Petronas operates oil and gas fields within Malaysia's exclusive economic zone. In recent years, the firm has had several encounters with Chinese vessels. Last week, Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim told Parliament that Malaysia was firmly committed to protecting the country's sovereign rights and interests in the disputed waters. He said Petronas would continue its activities and that he was open to negotiations with Beijing.
A Luxembourg court has issued fresh seizure orders for 2 units of oil firm Petronas this week. According to Reuters, this comes following a bid by descendants of a former sultanate to enforce a $14.9 billion award they had won against Malaysia. The purported heirs of the Sulu Sultanate are seeking to enforce the award granted by them by a French arbitration court last year amid a long-running dispute with the Malaysian government over unpaid lease payments for Sabah. Last July, the Sulu claimants won an attachment order to seize Petronas Azerbaijan, Shah Deniz and Petronas South Caucasus, which are registered in Luxembourg. However, de facto Law Minister Azalina Othman Said revealed that the order had been set aside in January 2023. Reuters cited court documents shared by the heir's lawyer, Paul Cohen, on the latest seizure order, which came on Tuesday. According to the court documents, Luxembourg court bailiffs issued a second seizure order on the units and related bank accounts. Cohen told Reuters that the Luxembourg Court District had indeed lifted the first seizure order on a minor issue that has been addressed, but had not made a judgment on the merits of the arbitration.
Next, for the Sime Darby. Sime Darby is a Malaysian conglomerate with businesses in plantations, industrial equipment, automotive, property, and energy. As a diversified multinational company with a staff that is more than 100,000 and are operating in 23 countries, Sime Darby plays a key role in the Malaysian economy. Its plantation division is the world's largest producer of palm oil, accounting for about 2.47 million tons or 5% of global crude palm oil annually.
For over 100 years, Sime Darby has been a familiar name to businesses and consumers throughout Asia Pacific. Sime Darby was established as an estate agency managing rubber plantations in 1910 and is today one of the few remaining corporations in the world that can trace its direct descent from the British colonial agency house. Its founding fathers, William Middleton Sime, Herbert Mitford Darby, and Henry de Astaire Darby, began their careers in these agency houses. By the time Sime and the Darby brothers founded Sime Darby & Co. Limited, they were established not only as agents but also as entrepreneurs and veteran planters. From humble beginnings as estate agents, Sime Darby has come a long way, having survived 2 world wars and the end of the British Empire, to flourish in an independent Malaysia, to become one of Malaysia's largest multinationals and one of its most recognized brands. In 1929, Sime Darby & Co. acquired the Sarawak Trading Company in Miri and became the Sarawak dealer for the Caterpillar Tractor Company. This was the start of the company's successful venture into the heavy equipment business, making it Asia's oldest and one of the world's largest Caterpillar dealers today. In 1972, Sime Darby became the sole importer and distributor of BMW cars and motorcycles in Hong Kong and Macau. Within several years, under the leadership of Tun Tan Siew Sin and Tunku Ahmad Yahya, Sime Darby had acquired dealership rights for BMW, Ford and Land Rover in Singapore, Malaysia and Brunei, as well as local assembly rights to build the first Land Rovers and BMWs outside their home countries. Today, Sime Darby prides itself as one of the largest BMW dealers in the world. Another key milestone in Sime Darby's history was in 2013, when it formed a joint venture with Ramsay Healthcare Limited and established the Ramsay Sime Darby Healthcare Group, with hospitals in Malaysia and Indonesia. Resilience, adaptability and entrepreneurial spirit are core to Sime Darby, and this comes from 110 years of experience. The company has continuously evolved to ensure its continued success and sustainability, each time daring to change and rising up to the challenges as it expanded to meet the ever-changing market demands and consumer trends. Today, Sime Darby is represented by 3 distinct companies, each independently listed on Bursa Malaysia. Sime Darby Berhad is a multinational with operations across 18 countries and a partner of choice for some of the world's best brands in the industrial and motor sectors. Sime Darby is fortunate to have been led by some outstanding leaders throughout its journey. With their vision and leadership, the company has survived a myriad of challenges and had always remained agile and able to adapt to changing environments. United by a common vision, a strong multicultural team of more than 20,000 people continues to drive the company forward. Throughout its 110-year evolution, the group's diversified portfolio, business innovation, discipline and determination have proven resilient to the challenges of local and global market forces. This strategic advantage complements its unwavering commitment to grow alongside its stakeholders, cementing a foundation to create sustainable value for years to come.
The amount of land that's been dedicated for palm oil has increased exponentially in the last sort of 40 or 50 years. So there has been a lot of deforestation. And with deforestation, of course, there's loss of biodiversity. Humankind has got a big challenge. By 2050, the world's population is going to exceed 9 billion. To feed that number of people, we're going to have to double the amount of food that we're producing today. We have to close this food gap in the next 30 years, but we can't do that by clearing more land for agriculture. With that need to increase our productivity as much as we can, we really need to boost the yield of the individual palms that you see around. So that led us into many different projects on how we can get the most productivity we can from the land that we have. With that in mind, we looked to genomics as a way to do that. And it took about 7 years of sort of basic research that enables us to look and analyse the DNA of a palm and to predict how good the yield will be.
You can't separate science from innovation. 2 years ago, Sime Darby Plantation has embarked into a project called Genome Select. What this project is entitled to do is to screen for high-yielding planting materials for oil palm. We have used all the information that we know for the past 7 years of studies from the genome information to understand where are the differences lies in regards to high-yielding materials versus low-yielding materials.
Genome Select is about 15% higher yield than our previous best planting materials. Commercial yields for oil palm are around 4 to 6 tonnes of oil per hectare, but these palms can produce above 10 tonnes of oil per hectare. If we can realise those kinds of yields across all of our planting environments, we can close that yield gap by 2050. Once Sime Darby Plantation has the over 300,000 hectares of land that we have planted in Malaysia, planted with Genome Select, the amount of additional oil that we can produce is equivalent to 50,000 hectares of land that wouldn't need to be cleared. Oil palm has got a lot of challenges. It's not going to be easy. If we continue to be passionate about where we want to end up, I think we'll get there.
The rise of Asia, shifting the world's economic center of gravity, unlocking new opportunities for growth in vibrant economies across Asia-Pacific. To foster sustainable growth of the key sectors where we operate, with over 20,000 employees building the bedrock of Sime Darby Berhad's success. Through operational excellence, high performance standards, and good corporate governance. Today, we are one of the world's largest Caterpillar dealers and a leader in heavy equipment business, offering a variety of premium machines and equipment, as well as industrial solutions. Every day, we work with a myriad of exciting challenges and opportunities. We envision to be the leading industrial and motors player in Asia Pacific. Our people's resilience, attention to detail, innovative spirit and drive distinguish us above the rest. From luxury marques to broad appeal market brands, we drive the future of automotive, bringing the world's best brands to Asia Pacific. An award-winning healthcare provider with a growing presence in Asia. Every service that we offer is delivered using cutting-edge medical technologies at world-class standards. Committed to making a positive impact in what we do. We come from different backgrounds, but we share the same values: integrity, respect and responsibility, excellence, enterprise. to deliver sustainable value to all our stakeholders. Be part of our revolutionary journey as we expand our footprint and strengthen our position across the Asia-Pacific region. We are Sime Darby Berhad, a partner of choice for the world's best brands, delivering sustainable futures.
Sime Darby Plantation Berhad berdepan kekurangan lebih 6,000 tenaga kerja sekaligus menjejaskan pengeluaran bagi operasi di Malaysia. Bagaimanapun, pengeluar minyak sawit itu sedang melaksana program otomasi yang agresif dalam tempoh 3 tahun dengan matlamat mengurangkan kebergantungan kepada pekerja asing di ladang.
What we are trying to do is creating higher paying job, and we want to attract as many locals as possible. I think we have to accept gone are the days where you can only pay the minimum wage and expect the locals to come in and work to replace or substitute the foreign workers as what the foreign workers are actually doing. I think we have to expect that those days will be gone sooner rather than later.
Ketika ini, syarikat memerlukan 30,000 pekerja ladang di Malaysia, namun dengan otomasi, jumlah ini boleh dikurangkan sehingga separuh. Mengenai harga minyak sawit mentah, Sime Darby Plantation menjangka ia mampu mencecah RM4,000 hingga RM4,700 setiap tan dalam tempoh 6 bulan. Dalam pada itu, keuntungan bersih Sime Darby Plantation melonjak kepada RM617 juta bagi suku kedua tahun ini berbanding tempoh sama tahun lalu. Pendapatan turut meningkat kepada RM4.41 bilion.
Menteri Perusahaan Peladangan dan Komoditi Datuk Zuraidah Kamarudin menggambarkan tindakan Jabatan Kastam Amerika Syarikat terhadap Sime Darby Plantation SDP berikutan isu buruh paksa sebagai tidak berasas dan terburu-buru. Beliau menegaskan industri minyak sawit negara beroperasi bawah piawaian ketat selaras dengan matlamat pembangunan lestari atau Sustainable Development Goals SDG.
Katanya SDP sedang menyusun laporan bebas yang komprehensif dan bakal diserahkan kepada negara berkenaan dalam masa terdekat. Kementeriannya juga bekerjasama rapat dengan Kementerian Sumber Manusia dan Kementerian Alam Sekitar dan Air bagi memastikan industri minyak sawit negara mematuhi undang-undang antarabangsa. Jabatan Kastam dan Pelindungan Sempadan CBP Amerika Syarikat menurunkan taraf tindakan terhadap SDP daripada perintah pelepasan penahanan kepada penemuan. Di bawah WRO, produk masih boleh tiba di Amerika Syarikat namun tidak boleh didagangkan atau diproses. Bagaimanapun berikutan notis penemuan yang diterima oleh SDP, sebarang produk yang ditemui akan dirampas. Beliau berkata kementerian itu akan mendapatkan penjelasan lanjut berkenaan isu tersebut daripada agensi berkaitan di Amerika agar penyelesaian segera dapat dicapai.
Sime Darby Berhad merekodkan untung bersih lebih rendah sebanyak 1.1 bilion ringgit bagi tahun kewangan berakhir 30 Jun 2022. Ini berbanding 1.4 bilion ringgit yang dicatatkan bagi tempoh sama 2021 yang mana ia merangkumi keuntungan sekali sahaja sebanyak 272 juta ringgit daripada pelupusan pegangan dalam Tesco Malaysia.
Tidak termasuk keuntungan itu, untung bersih kumpulan merosot sedikit sebanyak 4.3% disebabkan keuntungan yang lebih rendah daripada segmen perindustrian dan permotoran di China yang terjejas akibat pengucupan volume bagi seluruh industri dalam peralatan berat, kekurangan inventory dan sekatan pergerakan bagi mengekang penularan COVID-19. Ia menyaksikan pendapatan bagi tempoh itu adalah lebih rendah sebanyak 42.5 bilion ringgit berbanding 44.3 bilion ringgit pada tahun kewangan 2021. Sementara itu, bagi suku keempat berakhir 30 Jun 2022, Sime Darby merekodkan untung bersih yang lebih tinggi, meningkat 32% kepada 278 juta ringgit daripada 211 juta ringgit disumbangkan terutamanya daripada segmen perindustrian yang mencatat keuntungan dan perbelanjaan cukai yang lebih rendah. Bagaimanapun, bagi tempoh itu, pendapatan kumpulan susut 4% kepada 10.9 bilion ringgit berbanding 11.3 bilion ringgit yang direkodkan bagi tempoh sama tahun kewangan sebelumnya. Ketua Pegawai Eksekutif Kumpulan Sime Darby, Datuk Jeffrey Salim Davidson berkata, kumpulan melaporkan lebih 1 bilion keuntungan tahun ini di sebalik pelbagai cabaran yang timbul daripada gangguan rantaian bekalan dan kos operasi yang lebih tinggi akibat isu buruh. Katanya, segmen pemotoran menghadapi tahun yang mencabar terutamanya di China, manakala Malaysia pula merekodkan peningkatan lebih 50% dalam keuntungan daripada operasi meskipun berdepan dengan 2 bulan sekatan pergerakan.
For the industrial division, we've seen fairly strong commodity prices. That's driving equipment demand in our key markets of Australia. But we've seen higher overhead costs and some compressed margins. In China, there's been a continued slowdown in construction activity, and that has seen a significant, reduction in the heavy equipment market.
Beliau memberitahu kumpulan kekal fokus terhadap pelan rasionalisasi bukan teras apabila pada Julai lalu berjaya menandatangani perjanjian untuk melupuskan pelabuhan Weifang. Menurutnya, langkah itu menandakan peralihan kumpulan sepenuhnya daripada perniagaan logistik. Sementara itu, beliau turut menjangkakan lebih banyak cabaran akan dihadapi pada tahun kewangan berakhir 30 Jun 2023 kerana keadaan inflasi yang tinggi dan peningkatan kos pinjaman yang memberi kesan kepada sentimen pengguna. Sime Darby mengisytiharkan dividen interim kedua sebanyak 7.5 sen sesaham untuk suku keempat tahun ini. Ini menjadikan jumlah pembayaran dividen untuk tahun ini kepada 11.5 sen sesaham atau 783 juta ringgit, mewakili pembayaran sebanyak 71% daripada keuntungan bersih.
Sime Darby Plantation Berhad SDP menyatakan kebimbangan terhadap kemungkinan produk keluarannya dikenakan sekatan oleh Jabatan Kastam dan Pelindungan Sempadan CBP Amerika Syarikat.
Syarikat peladangan tersebut dalam satu kenyataan media berkata SDP
telah menjadi subjek petisyen yang dikemukakan Liberty Shared bersama CBP pada 20 April lalu. SDP sebelum ini sudah mengemukakan maklum balas ke atas petisyen Liberty Shared dan kenyataan umum berdasarkan maklumat yang terhad. Walaupun telah berusaha berhubung dengan CBP, namun SDP tidak mempunyai peluang untuk memberi penjelasan atau diberi butiran lanjut dakwaan yang dikemukakan Liberty Shared. Meskipun nilai ekspor tahunan ke Amerika dalam jumlah sederhana sekitar $5 juta setahun, namun negara itu merupakan pasaran yang menawarkan potensi besar. Maklum balas itu mencerminkan komitmen SDP dalam menegakkan hak asasi manusia dan memperbaiki kekurangan dalam operasi dan rantaian bekalannya. Libat urus akan diteruskan bagi mendapatkan butiran terperinci dakwaan tersebut supaya isu itu dapat ditangani secepat mungkin.
An income statement, also known as a profit and loss statement, reports a company's revenue, expenses, and earnings during a specific accounting period. A company can present its income statement as evidence of its financial performance in order to obtain loans and investments. The income statement also highlights results of the company's operating activities, so managers and other internal stakeholders can use the data to help identify potential problems and areas for improvement. Furthermore, external stakeholders, including investors, use the income statement to understand whether a company operates efficiently and is likely to succeed in the future. It's the source of key financial ratios like earnings per share and return on equity, as well as the all-important price-to-earnings ratio. By documenting where a company's revenue comes from, how it invests its resources, and whether it makes or loses money, the income statement details invaluable information to help investors and managers make smarter decisions. Hey, did you like what you learned? Check out these 2 videos and don't forget to subscribe now. A balance sheet is a statement of a company's net worth and financial position at a specific point in time, detailing the value of its assets or what the business owns, as well as the liabilities and shareholder equity or what the business owes. While a balance sheet doesn't depict everything about a company's performance, like whether it's profitable or not, it does highlight whether a business is using its resources efficiently or taking on too much debt. By separating current assets like inventory, securities, and accounts receivable from property, equipment, and other fixed assets, the balance sheet also indicates whether a company can generate enough cash to survive a financial crisis. Only publicly traded companies are required to produce balance sheets. However, every business should incorporate the practice into their financial processes, as balance sheets provide essential information about the company's long-term financial soundness and resilience, while also letting shareholders know what their investment in the business is currently worth. Hey, if you like what you learned about balance sheets, check out these 2 videos and don't forget to subscribe.
In horizontal analysis, also known as trend analysis or time series analysis, financial analysis look at financial trends over periods of time, especially quarters or years. Typically, financial analysis perform horizontal analysis before vertical analysis, and it is usually the most useful for companies that have been operating for a long period of time. In horizontal analysis, you can compare figures from one time period to figures from a base time period to get an overview of changes over time. Analyzing financial trends over periods or years can help you track how a company's financial state has changed, find patterns in its data, and spot potential problems and opportunities. For example, you could use horizontal analysis to compare a company's profit margins in one year to its profit margins in another year. Alternatively, you could use it to pinpoint specific areas of the company that are experiencing the most financial change. Vertical analysis, which is also known as common size analysis, is similar to horizontal analysis and can be performed on the same financial documents. However, financial analysis performs vertical analysis vertically inside of a column rather than horizontally across time periods. Vertical analysis translates figures in financial statements to percentages of a base figure, which has a value of 100%. Using percentages can make the data easier to visualize and understand. Vertical analysis can be used both internally by a company's employees and externally by investors. Investors can use vertical analysis to compare one company to another. Vertical analysis also makes it easy to compare companies of different sizes by allowing you to analyze their financial data vertically as a percentage of a base figure.
Meet Jane. Like you, she's an accounting student. And like you, Jane struggles with horizontal and vertical analysis. Let's start at the basics. Horizontal analysis analyzes one company's trends over multiple years, at least 2. While vertical analysis is used to compare multiple companies' account balances within the period of 1 year. Both horizontal and vertical analysis are normally conducted on the income statement and the balance sheet. But how do we calculate these analyses? The first step to calculate horizontal analysis is to calculate the dollar change in the account balance. We do this by subtracting the prior year balance from the current year balance. This can be from any category in the balance sheet, such as cash or accounts payable. So in this case, we subtract $1,000 from $2,000, which gives us a total dollar change of $1,000. Next, we calculate the percentage change. To do this, we take the dollar change just calculated and divide it by the prior year balance. So, in reference to our example, we divide $1,000 by $1,000, which gives us a 100% percentage change. Now, in order to calculate vertical analysis, there are 2 different approaches, depending on the financial statement used. For the balance sheet, we divide the account balance by total assets. Thus, in this example, we divide cash by total assets, which is going to give us 10%. If using the income statement, you will need to divide the account balance by the net sales or revenue. So in this instance, we take the account balance for cost of goods sold and divide it by sales revenue, which gives us 40%.
My name is NURUL IZZATI binti SHAMSOL BAHARI, and I would like to explain about solvency ratio analysis. The solvency ratio is a financial metric that measures a company's ability to meet its long-term debt obligation. It compares a company's total asset to its total liabilities, providing an indication of the company's financial stability and ability to repay debts over the long term. A higher solvency ratio generally suggests a stronger financial position.
Petronas gas has a higher current ratio compared to Sime Darby. It indicates that Petronas gas has a stronger short-term financial position in relation to its ability to meet its current liabilities. The current ratio is calculated by dividing current asset by current liabilities and is used to assess to a company's short-term liquidity. Sime Darby has a higher quick ratio compared to Petronas gas. It suggests that Sime Darby has a stronger ability to meet its short-term financial obligation without relying on its inventory. It excludes inventory from current asset, focusing only on the most liquid asset that can quickly be converted to cash to pay off current liabilities. Petronas gas has a higher cash ratio compared to Sime Darby. It indicates that Petronas gas holds a larger proportion of its current asset in the form of cash and cash equivalent relative to its current liabilities. The cash ratio is an even more stringent measure of liquidity than the current ratio or quick ratio, as it focuses solely on the most liquid asset, cash, and its ability to cover short-term obligation. Lastly, Petronas Gas has a higher net capital to current liabilities ratio compared to Sime Darby. It indicates that Petronas Gas has a stronger financial position concerning its ability to cover short-term liabilities with its net capital. The net capital to current liabilities ratio is a measure of a company's short-term solvency, which considers the excess of total assets over total liabilities as a cushion to meet current obligation.
Assalamualaikum, my name is SYAIRAH binti Abdul Aziz. The next ratio in financial ratio is efficiency ratio. Efficiency ratio measures the ability of a businesses to use its asset and liability to generate sales. The high efficiency organization have minimized its net investment in asset and so require less debt and equity in order to remain in operation. In the case of asset, efficiency ratio compare an aggregate set of assets to sale of the cost of goods sold. In the case of liability, the main efficiency ratio compare payable to total purchasing from supplier. There are 5 types of ratio in efficiency ratio, which is average collection period, receivable turnover, inventory turnover, fixed asset turnover, and lastly is total asset turnover. Firstly, for average collection period, the lowest the amount is better. Because the collection period refer to the number of days a company on average to collect cash from credit purchaser. Companies try to reduce the time needed as they measure to increase their near-term liquidity. Based on the bar chart, it shows that Darby have the better control in average collection period. It can flow by from 2019 to 2021. Amount reduced in 2.1 for 2021 and 2022 it only increased by 23.89 to 26.95. However, for Petronas Gas Berhad, the amount reduced is only from years 2019 and 2020. Meanwhile, for the rest years, it is continued to increase. However, higher value of return turnover, inventory turnover, fixed asset turnover, and total asset turnover are generally considered better because they are indicated more efficient use of resources and assets, leading to improved financial performance and profitability. Next, for fixed asset turnover, a higher fixed asset turnover ratio suggests that the company is using its fixed asset more effectively to generate revenue. It is advantage because it indicates that the company is making productive use of its investment in property, plants, and equipment. According to the bar chart, Petronas Gas Berhad have better management of fixed asset turnover. However, through the graph, we can see that the amount of fixed asset turnover of Sime Darby Berhad is higher than Petronas Gas Berhad. But Petronas Gas Berhad can still increase their fixed asset turnover over the years, however, in a small amount. For total asset turnover, a higher total asset turnover ratio indicates that the company is generating more revenue per unit of asset, with significant efficient utilization of its resources. According to the chart, Petronas Gas Berhad had a good management of total asset turnover compared to Sime Darby Berhad. This happened because it increased from 0.28 to 0.30, but for the next year, it decreased into 0.29. However, for the later, it increased back into 0.31. Overall, it can summarize that for efficient ratio, Petronas Gas Berhad has a better management compared to Sime Darby Berhad. It can prove by using the chart. The third ratio in financial ratio is leverage ratio. Leverage ratio are a tool that determine the extent to which a fund depends on debt for purchasing asset and building a capital. It helps investor and creditor assess the ability of a fund to meet its financial obligation. In general, it is considered better to have lower amount of total debt ratio and debt to equity ratio, as lower value indicated a company has a lower financial leverage and may be in a stronger financial position. Total debt ratio is a measure of the portion of a company's total assets that are financed by debt. A lower total debt ratio means that the company relies less on debt to finance its operation and investment, and it has a larger portion of its asset financed through equity or retained earnings. This can be seen as a positive indicator of financial stability and a lower risk of default. Based on the bar chart, it shows that Petronas Gas Berhad has a better total debt ratio management compared to Sime Darby Berhad. The amount from 2019 to 2020 of Petronas Gas is decreased from 0.3236 to 0.3113. However, the amount of Sime Darby is increased from 2019 to 2020, where from 0.4234 to 0.4501, which is not good. Meanwhile, for 2021 to 2022, both companies show increasing. However, according to the chart, Petronas Gas Berhad had little amount of increasing compared to Sime Darby. Next is total debt ratio. The debt to equity ratio compares a company's total debt to its shareholder equity. It measures the relative proportion of external debt financing to internal equity of financing. A lower debt to equity ratio suggests that the company has a lower level of debt in comparison to equity, meaning it relies less on borrowing money and has a stronger financial position. It also indicates that shareholders have a larger ownership stake in the company relative to creditor interest. According to the chart, Petronas Gas Berhad has better management of total debt ratio. This happened because Petronas Gas Berhad only have little difference from years to years, meanwhile Sime Darby have a little bit different from years to years.
Petronas Gas has a higher equity ratio compared to Sime Darby. It suggests that Petronas Gas relies more on equity financing and has a greater proportion of its asset funded by shareholder equity rather than debt. The equity ratio, also known as the equity to asset ratio, is a measure of a company's financial leverage and indicates the extent to which shareholders' equity contribute to the total asset. However, stating that Petronas Gas has a zero equity ratio in 2022 seems contradictory. An equity ratio of zero would imply that Petronas Gas has no shareholders' equity, which is highly unlikely and would raise serious concern about the company's financial standing. And Petronas Gas has a higher long-term debt ratio compared to Sime Darby. It suggests that Petronas Gas relies more on long-term debt financing to fund its operation and investment. The long-term debt ratio is a financial metric that assesses the proportion of a company's total assets that are financed through long-term debt.
Assalamualaikum, my name is NURUL binti Muhammad KHAIRUL and I will explain more about profitability ratio. Profitability ratios are financial measures used over a particular period of time by analysts and investors to assess and analyze a company's ability to produce revenue, which profit compared to revenue, balance sheet assets, operating costs, and shareholder benefit and value. The first one is gross profit margin. This ratio used to measure the firm's ability to control cost of goods sold relative to its sale revenue or the relative contribution margin from sales. As we can see, Petronas Gas Berhad have a good evaluation since year 2019 until 2021. Meanwhile, for Sime Darby Berhad, the evaluation is not good at year 2022. The gross profit margin sloped down with 0.97. The higher the number, there is more efficient management in generating profit. Second is net profit margin. This ratio showing the firm's ability to indicate better income to shareholders. The ability of the firms to get higher returns indicate a better growth prospect and therefore higher margin is preferable. Looking for the graph, both Petronas Gas and Sime Darby Berhad has a bad value. These two companies having a decreasing profit since 2019. Moving into return on asset, this ratio measures a firm's overall return on all of its asset investment.
Return on asset indicates the productivity of assets in producing revenues and the firm's ability to control costs in its operations. According to the bar chart above, both companies also having a bad result on return on assets, but with small differences value. For example, Petronas Gas only sloped down with the differences 0.1 from year 2020 to 2022. The lowest return on asset indicate the worst performance of the company. For the return on equity ratio, shows the firm's ability to indicate higher return to shareholders. Higher return is better as it indicates higher return for the owners of the firm. It is also same as return on asset ratio. Both company having a not good result for return on equity because Petronas Gas Berhad having a slowed down 0.1 differences since year 2020 and 2021. Meanwhile, for Sime Darby Berhad slowed down with 0.02 differences in year 2021 and 2022. It indicates that the company is not successful in generating high cash internally.
So next, I will be presenting about the SWOT analysis of Petronas. For the strength, Petronas has quite strong brand image comparable to other international oil and gas companies. Plus, Petronas also has a stronger customer relationships. Other than that, it also happens to have a weakness. Petronas is excessive concentration in oil and gas industry, and Petronas is also high cost in the industry. Furthermore, Petronas also faces threats which are the intense competition from other oil and gas company, and Petronas also frequently has issues. Lastly, for the opportunities, Petronas is the reason of the increased demand for fuel, and Petronas is more likely to discover more oil. For the SWOT analysis of company of Sime Darby, the strength of the company was their diversification of business besides the plantation businesses. Sime Darby also perform other type of businesses such as industrial and motor divisions and healthcare. The diversification helps Sime Darby to reduce the risk that may affect their business. Next, the weakness of Sime Darby is the decreasing of profit for the financial year. The profit before tax on 2017 showed a decline compared to the profit before tax recorded to the previous corresponding year, primarily due to a lower non-recurring net profit, although partially mitigated by lower finance costs. Plus, the opportunity of Sime Darby is the increasing demand of palm oil. Meanwhile, the threat for Sime Darby is in the term of rapid technology changes. According to the survey, rapid technology changes represents the main challenge facing tomorrow's business leaders. Based on the ratio analysis that we analysed, it seemed that Petronas Gas Berhad more prominent than Sime Darby Berhad. Improvement that Sime Darby Berhad should do is detailed financial reporting. They should provide more comprehensive and detailed financial statement to enable a true analysis of the company's performance and financial health. These recommendations should be tailored to Sime Darby Berhad's specific circumstance and objective. Consulting with financial experts and conducting in-depth analysis will further enhance the effectiveness of these improvements. Next, based on the SWOT analysis, it shows that Sime Darby Berhad more effective and efficiency than Petronas Gas Berhad. It because Sime Darby Berhad focus on diversity products, meanwhile Petronas Gas Berhad only focus on crude palm oil. There is recommendation for Petronas Gas Berhad to improve their SWOT analysis, which is they should evaluate the diversification strategy with company. They should evaluate the potential for diversification into related or new business areas to mitigate risk and expand revenue streams. A well-rounded and accurate SWOT analysis requires collaboration, continuous monitoring, and a focus on both internal and external factors influencing the company's performance and growth prospects. Lastly, for the company development, it shows that Sime Darby Berhad had so many controversy than Petronas Gas Berhad. For example, Sime Darby Berhad lack of manpower and worried about the same fate as FGV Holdings. So that Sime Darby Berhad should improve their development with using critical thinking training. They can provide training and workshop to employees to enhance their critical thinking skills, enabling them to identify and evaluate various factors impacting decision and outcomes. By incorporating these recommendations, Sime Darby Berhad can enhance the quality of its decision-making process, leading to more effective and informed choices that align with the company's objectives and values.
Our group has chosen two companies, which is Petronas Gas and Sime Darby. Based on SWOT analysis and ratio analysis that we have done, Petronas Gas is ahead compared to Sime Darby. So in conclusion is, our group has chosen Petronas because Petronas has a more stable position compared to Sime Darby.